What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Derek, and today we're going to be rigging the NuCanoe Unlimited with a brand new Motorguide Xi3. Let's talk about what we're going to need to install this Motorguide Xi3. First off, obviously, we're going to need some wiring. There's a huge controversy over what type of wiring, what size wiring to use. I always go by the manufacturer specs. So for this 24 volt Xi3 that we're going to be putting on this boat, it calls for a run of 15 feet or less to be 8 gauge wire. So I went to West Marine, bought some marine grade 8 gauge wire, obviously red and black for running positive negative. I went and got myself 15 feet of this. I think it's like $1.40 a foot or something like that, but it's not that expensive. Get the good stuff, get what they recommend, and that's how I always start with my wiring. Next, we're going to need a circuit breaker for your trolling motor. This goes right up by your battery. This is a 60 amp ignition protected circuit breaker. If it pops like that. I've never had it happen, but you can easily reset it and keep going. Very important. One of the biggest questions I get is what type of plugs do I use when I'm wiring, because there's all kinds of different plugs out there. My favorite is the NuCanoe. I like the 3-prong, the bladed style. And the reason why I like that is because I think that it seats the best and it doesn't rattle around. So what I mean by bladed style, you can see the bladed ends on there. This is obviously separated. This is a rubber casing. Your wires go through the back, goes over here. Your wires go into the ports 1 and 2, goes in, sends down here, keeps it nice and steady. That's the plug that goes on your trolling motor. And then we're going to be drilling into the access wiring panel. This is the receptacle side of it. Plugs in, snaps to lock in, winds down tight on the back side. Your wires go into the back side of this. Pretty simple. On the back side, where it comes out to the battery, we're going to be coming out of that Yak Attack through hull wiring port that's back there. The NuCanoe gives you standard on the boats. We're going to run the wiring to our circuit breaker on the hot side, and then we're going to be crimping on these heavy-duty tinned lugs. These are copper lugs, tinned. Crimp them on, gives you a good solid connection and good solid wiring. Of course, at any of the places where we're crimping or we're connecting wires, we're going to heat shrink them, make sure we're doing a good job there. And then what else do you need? You need your bow mount plate. This is the bow mount plate for the Unlimited. You'll see that NuCanoe's gone ahead and recessed in a handle for this, so when it's on there, you got a good place to lift up from. Connects in 3 points. These 3 points here connect to the threaded inserts in the bow of the boat. These other 4 holes that you see here are your required quick release bracket from Motorguide. You're going to need that. This is the quick release bracket for the Xi3. Comes with this plate, and then the plate that's on the motor. You attach the plate to the motor. That's like a rectangular plate, sits over this, and then attaches through these 2 holes right here with a pin, so you can easily remove and stow the motor and take it on and off the boat. We'll get into how that's done there. Obviously, when you're doing this, you want to take your time. You don't want like splices underneath inside the hull or anything like that. You want one solid wire front to back, to this on the hot side, to the negative on the battery. What we're going to be doing for a battery on this one is we're going to be running, this is a 24 volt 80 amp hour battery from Amped Outdoors. This thing looks huge, it looks mammoth, but it's only 40 pounds, which is incredible. The new lithium battery technology is insane. So that's going to be our battery for this boat. And then, of course, we're going to have something to run this boat, right? This is a Motorguide Xi3. This is a 24 volt, 70 pound thrust Xi3. this thing is going to breathe some fire to this thing. I'm super excited. It's got a 36-inch shaft. This is a saltwater edition motor. That's why you see that it's white, because it has a special coating on it to protect against corrosion and stuff like that. So, well, let's get into rigging this thing. Let's get this wiring access plate off on the front here. We'll go through how to drill a hole, set up your plugs, get that part done. We'll run the wiring, come out the other side, and we'll keep going. Let's get rid of this wiring access plate. We'll pull that off, drill out the plate below it, drill out the access plate, and install our plug. Alright guys, so one of the things I just ran into is I wanted to dry fit the bow mount plate and the quick release mount on there to see where I needed to mount my plug, which I'm glad I did. So I noticed that when the motor's on there and the bow mount plate's on there, you want to mount it as low as you can on the wiring access plate. So I went and just kind of did a quick little gauge, put a little pre-drill hole there. I'm going to pre-drill the wiring access plate and the plate underneath it. That way I'll be lined up, pull it off, drill out the bottom plate, drill out the top plate, run our wiring, and saw it. So to drill through this, we're going to be using an 1 3/4 hole saw bit. Just kind of open it up a little bit. It doesn't have to be exact because that's not where we're wanting it to be waterproof. Then when we drill the hole through the access plate, we're going to use an 1 1/4 bit. And that way it'll sit kind of tight around our plug and get a good seal on the back side. Alright guys, we got our snake, we've got our wires attached to the snake, and we're just going to run it from front to back. Really simple. Get it down. And what I did was I just taped the ends together, pull through nice and easy. I also went and tape the wiring together with a small bit of tape here and there, just to keep it from flopping around down there. But we're going to go to the other end, pull that through. Alright, now that we've got our end strip back, we're going to go ahead and install that into our receptacle end of the plug, and then install our rubber gasket and all that. So make sure you do everything in reverse. This little wire nut holds this to our access plate, so this has to go on first. Then our rubber gasket needs to go over that. And our access plate needs to go over that we drilled the hole in. So we've got the hole set up like that. And we go ahead and install these into this, screw it to the access plate, screw everything down, and then we're done up here. Alright guys, so once you're done installing the receptacle and everything and putting it all back with the gasket, you should end up with this right here, which is just a super neat, super clean install. So let's go ahead and get back to the back over there, and we'll go ahead and install the battery end of this stuff. Alright guys, I apologize for the lighting. I know it's real bright in my face here, but the sun is coming up. I'm actually enjoying the warmth because we haven't had much of it lately. But anyways, we got the front plug installed, the receptacle installed. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and come out with our wiring through this Yakutech through hull wiring port. And basically we're going to take this off. Behind this is just kind of an indentation. We're going to drill a hole for our wires to come out, bring our wires out. Our battery's going to sit right here. We're going to install our circuit breaker, do our crimping of our lugs for the battery, and then this part of the install is done. Alright guys, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and removed this Yakutech through hull wiring port, which is this guy right here. As you can see, it's got a little, basically a little O-ring on the back there, which makes this thing waterproof when we set down. Well, I pulled out and I found that 1 1/8 is perfect size for that gasket to fit in there. And then we run our wiring through those holes. So what we're going to do is NuCanoe's already gone ahead and put a little dimple in the center of this thing, so we can use that as our guide for our drilling. Put our drill bit in the center of that dimple and drill it out. Okay, now that we've got our hole drilled out for our wires to come through, all we have to do is take this, push it through, pull them back out, feed the wires through our ports, screw it back on, and that part's done. Then we're just going to screw that through. Obviously we're going to pull our wire out all the way and get it to where we need, start crimping and all that. But look how clean that is, guys. Waterproof, ready to roll. Alright, we've got our negative lug crimped onto the thing. We're just going to do the heat shrink on it. We're going to put our positive lug on there, and then we'll attach it to the circuit breaker. Alright, so we've got our bow mount plate, and we have our quick release plate that attaches to the bow mount plate. This comes from Motorguide. I showed you the box for that earlier. Basically, it's just 4 screws, some lock nuts and some washers on the bottom. Get that set up just like that. And then we got 3 bolts from NuCanoe go into these threaded bolt holes. Make sure you get this one started first, so when you put the plate on, you don't have to mess with it. That started. One thing that I didn't show you guys was installing the bracket for that one started. Actually onto the motor. It's really simple. This is the other side of your quick release bracket. Just 2 screws, one here, one on the other side. Pop these plates off, and then all the instructions, everything come with the Motorguide quick release plate kit. And then you just put your bolts in. I think it's 6 bolts. Handle that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then that sits down, spring locks in, and you're done. So let's put this plug on. Let's put a battery onto it. Let's get it fired up, make sure it runs. Alright, so now it's time to install our plug. Basically, you got 2 parts to the plug. Your actual bladed receptacle part that goes into the receptacle, and then this cover. So you basically just want to strip your wires back, pull them apart, and then they'll feed through this waterproof connection here. Then basically you're going to just duplicate the same port that you put the receptacle in. So I know that the black wire needs to go in into port number 1. So we're going to find port number 1, plug that in, then you end up with this. Got a nice little O-ring on there. That O-ring seats into the port down there on the receptacle, basically just like this. Red wire is going to go into port number 2, and that's it. We're done. Tighten that up. You're going to end up with that. Alright guys, we got the battery hooked up out back, so let's just check it out, make sure we got it good to go. Get it snapped in, we got our power lights powered up, we got movement. Well, check we're up a little high there.